So many of us have learned how to perform, adapt, or disappear just to feel safe. We learned who to be before we learned who we are. But the body remembers, the inner child remembers, and the healing often begins not by fixing ourselves, but by finally coming home. Today, we explore authenticity, abandonment, and the gentle work of integration. Welcome to Inner Peace Better Health, where emotional well being, self awareness, and the mind body connection meet with compassion and honesty. I am your host, Nazith. Today, I am joined by Franny Sheridan, award winning author, performer, and internationally known stress buster, whose life and work beautifully embody resilience, creativity, and healing. Through storytelling, movement, humor, and her unique practices, Franny has transformed inherited trauma into what she calls post traumatic joy overload. In this conversation, we'll explore authenticity, abandonment, and inner child integration, and how reclaiming the parts of ourselves once we hid can bring both peace and vitality. Welcome to the show, Franny. I hope you're doing good.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for your beautiful work.
Likewise. So, Franny, I'd love to begin here. When did you first realize that being authentic wasn't just about self expression, but about healing something much deeper inside you?
When I became paralyzed emotionally in my life, publicly as a performer, uh, I was a stand-up comedian. I was a dramatic actor on stage, a little bit in film and TV, a speaker, yeah, and I would do extremely well and have a lot of pressure on me to succeed. At 15, I was in university, so in our part of the world, much younger than most people. Uh, Achieving that at that, and so I had a lot of pressure. I majored in theater, and I studied film and TV and all these things. I didn't know what was wrong with me because it wasn't just regular stage fright. And people were very frustrated, directors, club managers who had these high expectations of me because I have, we all come into the world with our unique genius. And part of mine was this gift of storytelling and really just being connected to the light, and allowing it in different versions and playfulness. But I was blocked. Um, and so I did the traditional therapy route, and it worked to a degree, but it never really got underneath. So I realized that I had to start. It was, I think it was bigger than me. I really think it was through me. It was some energy that was inspiring me, shall we say, to move ahead, to tell the truth of my story. And in my case, I was brought up with a big secret, which I was told day and night that would get me killed if I revealed it, not only me, but my whole family. So, when you're a little kid, you want to do right by your parents, and you don't have anything to compare that to. I just wanted to protect them and protect our family. And my parents are survivors, Holocaust survivors. And beyond, kind of surviving and losing their whole family in Europe, when they finally met and married, well before I was born, my dad was nearly killed in 1951 in Canada, where I grew up in a very small town. This is all documented, by the way. Went to court, and my first publishing deal for my I have a traditionally published memoir as well. You can't get a traditionally published, publishing deal unless the publisher has all of the legitimate documentation. So I had to obtain all this from the courthouse. This happened in 1951. So my father, who was an extremely successful ophthalmologist and eye surgeon with 2 practices, took very good care of us. We were all well educated, yada, yada, but had these scars. He did the best he could. I loved my dad and my mom, and I feel very connected with him from non-physical. But, hurt people hurt people. And there was a rational and irrational point to what he did. There was a lot of racism and hatred and anti-Semitism at that time. And there were a lot of Nazis and now that this has come out very publicly in the public domain, you can Google it and DuckDuckGo, whatever you do. It's called Operation Paperclip, where actually the head of NASA was, a well-known Nazi scientist. So this was not so far fetched, but at the time, kind of crazy because it was a secret. Point is, we attract what we are. And my father had, understandably, his terror and his anxiety. So, of course, he attracted this. Never to condone abuse, right? Never to justify any abuse, whether it's bullying or what we can do to ourselves sometimes, which is to contract and hide. But so he was nearly killed and threatened his whole family. And so when I rolled around, he had already forced my very unwilling mother to convert to Catholicism, anglicized their name and religion. So from Siegel was their last name to Sheridan, converted the family, including them, from Judaism to Catholicism. And when I was, a little girl, we went to, I thought we were, nice Roman Catholic, Irish Catholic kids. I grew up in Ottawa. We went to St. Basil's Church every Sunday. Kids believe what they're told. And why would I not? And so, but then when I was 9 years old, my father started to make me the keeper of the Holocaustica. And he would wake me up when his PTSD wouldn't allow him to sleep. And so he wanted to protect me by telling me what was going on. He probably also sensed that I was a storyteller because parents can tell, what their kids' abilities are. Maybe he intuited it. Maybe it's a past life thing. I'm sure it is. But anyway, and also, he also made me into he never sexualized me, but he made me into a surrogate wife in the sense that I was a little girl. And all of a sudden my, like Walt Disney-esque childhood became this dark stories about Holocaust. It's too much for a kid. The gift in it, and this is why I'm writing I Tried to Be Normal, but it was taken, my audiobook, which will be out soon, is to shine a light on the fact that my belief, Franny Sheridan's belief, is that everything is perspective. I have zero regrets. I learned so much, and I'm extremely excited and passionate about sharing my fun, fast, nervous system regulating exercises, which I have for a long time. And I'm like an in-betweener. What makes me different than like a standard, there's so many geniuses out there that teach meditation, as you know, and many forms of long form work that help to regulate nervous system and allow us to have the peace so that we can authentically be ourselves in the world. I'm the in-betweener. I'm the person who has these processes that are proven and fast, data-backed, empirically science, tested, but you can use in traffic during the day when you're on a date, you're at work, you're in your in-laws, whatever, where there's stress, you're driving a car, stuff is going on, because it's great to practice meditation and all these things. And they have been my big doorway into my wellness. But what happens when life happens? They all need to be practiced, just like going to the gym. This is the spiritual gym, and these are spiritual speed bumps, but they work. And they're, scientifically proven in terms of changing your physiology and the chemicals in your body, lowering heart rate. People's high blood pressure has been lowered. I mean, lots of testimonials, 40 points sometimes. So it's not just, just don't be deceived because they're simple and they're easy. It took me a while to, really through trial and error with a lot of people, different workshop groups and audiences to find out what works best. So although I went through this tough time, in many ways, I was unable to make eye contact, Nazith. I couldn't, I was agoraphobic, couldn't leave my apartment for a long time. And it really impacted me because, when you're brought up with terror, regardless of what community you're in, it has to have a toll on you. And so ultimately, just to finally get to answer your question more specifically, when did I decide that I needed to, I think you would ask, authentically come out authentically? Is that what you would ask?
I agree. I mean, you have shared that with so much honesty and so beautifully, or this on our space with so much honesty. You know, just absolutely beautiful. Most people think authenticity means being bold, outspoken, or fearless. What do you feel is the most misunderstood about authenticity, especially for those who have experienced abandonment or early emotional wounds?
Well, I want to say bullying is the antithesis, but it's the other side of the coin of hiding. And so, we are all, most of us, not all of us, many of us, it's much easier if you see somebody on the street who's hurting or in your home, you're willing to lend them a hand. If somebody is being a bully, they are just as hurt. It's the most extreme form of terror. That's like really being so many layers of armor, right? And hurting self. Both of them are self-destructive and not being able to be at peace. That being said, it has taken me a long time to get to a place where I realize other people's tension is not mine or yours to manage. It's their responsibility. Yes, of course we can. And I offer all kinds of processes and techniques and, whatever you want to call them. But if people are not willing to do the work, again, like it's going to like the spiritual gym, they must be practiced. Your neuroplasticity, can be changed, but it needs repetition. And it's not a long time. These are short processes and they're fun. They get you in touch with the vibration in your body so that you end up knowing where you ends and the world begins. So we stop taking on other people's tension, whether it's traffic or complaining people or unhappy people. It doesn't mean to ever to condone abuse ever, 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 or to become, armored and crusty and and it's not an easy thing to do when you're brought up to be the caretaker emotionally or in any way for especially mostly, not always, but mostly well-intentioned parental figures, right? So it takes a lot of repetition. So I just encourage everybody, please be kind to yourself, number one, because, oh boy, can you imagine, Nazith, if like everybody in the world was kinder to self and then, just a lot, of course, hurt people, right? Unhappy people are unhappy, was able to be kinder. And that doesn't mean it's our responsibility to take care of to manage other people's tension. Sometimes you just gotta freaking step away. I have a whole lot of processes that I lead with. And by the way, if anybody wants to see my stuff for free, I go live every Thursday at 12 noon EST on Facebook at Franny Sheridan, FRANNIE with processes, and Friday on TikTok. And, so you can get a lot of, I'm interested in sharing value and never to make money an issue. Yeah, my audio book, which is called I Tried to Be Normal, but it was taken. It's going to be, it'll be released on ACX and Amazon. It'll cost, a few bucks. But I always want to add the value to anybody who's ready to use it because we're all in this together.
I agree. And absolutely, the way you've put it, the way you have put or shed some light on bullying and everything, I feel like this is going to land with a lot of listeners today. A lot of people are going to resonate with it. And so tell us, for someone who wants to reconnect with their inner child and live more authentically, what's gentle, body friendly place to begin with?
Oh, super easy. So a gentle exercise is simply touch your heart and close your eyes and just allow yourself to thank your heart for all the years it's beat for you without a salary. At least mine hasn't gotten paid. Let your shoulders go. And now think about breathing very slowly, golden light through your heart, but using your nose, through your nose, and hold your breath just for a few moments. Let's go. Hold your breath. Hold your breath. And now we're going to exhale, humming with our lips pressed together for as long as we can on the word home. Home. Because you are indeed coming home to the love that we all are. Now, what happens there from a scientific point of view, when you hold your breath, you're activating carbon dioxide. And when you exhale, you're activating nitric oxide, right? So these are all beautiful, powerful nervous system regulating chemicals. And it affects you. It's the best vasodilator. Your blood pressure, if you have high blood pressure, it will normalize. Again, these things take time. And I have many different variances on this very simple exercise, but heart touching, you're letting your heart know that you live there. And I love to use terms of endearment. I know it seems maybe a little hokey or like Hallmark cardishy, but if we can learn to talk to ourselves the way that perhaps we wished our parents were able to more, or parental figures, or if we didn't have parents, and when you refer to yourself, you can call yourself whatever you want to, like sweetheart, touch your heart. I live here. Darling, I live here. I love you. Because self-talk and rewiring and reprogramming, I mean, this now is so in the public domain. I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with Dr. Joe Dispenza and some of these sages that are super famous. He literally is a rock star. The moment that he puts his work out publicly, having, a new workshop, it fills up within moments. And this all has to do with reprogramming, rewiring, self-talk. And it is powerful, but, he also has people who complain and spend thousands and thousands of dollars. And he talks about this publicly because they don't do the work. And in my case, I've never done a 7-day retreat. I do weekend retreats and things like that. But these very short form, easy processes, I mentioned that they're easy. They're easy. We don't want to call them techniques, processes, hacks. Take very little time, but have tremendous return. But they do need to be practiced. So what would you do? 4 minutes a day? Do we have that? Are we worth it? Is it worth it for us to normalize, our blood pressure, to not feel, because it's affecting all of our organs, anxiety and stress. So many people, especially these days, are, normalizing shame and blame and fear and guilt and anger and hatred. And none of that is normal. Those are augmented. They are not normal. Those are augmented emotions. Are normal emotions, if you want to call it that, because, what the heck is normal anyway, which is part of the title of my book. I tried to be normal, but it was taken. When babies, this is just Franny Sharon's opinion, when babies are born into our world, they don't cry just because the doctor or the nurse slaps them, because often now babies are born in water or in different ways. They come from a high density. And they come to our planet, of course, to expand, and it's, co-creating, but they feel that the whatever it is, the anxiety, the fear, the tension, and they are not used to that. And so when a baby comes in from non-physical, that is our blessed normal. If you want to use the word normal, that's that's really where we reside, and we can find our way home. And yes, life happens. We're in this society, right? Of course you're going to deal with stuff. Of course human, and I'm not above losing it, but because I've practiced this for so long, I don't stay there for very long. And that's I believe, the secret, because then you're not hurting self.
I agree. And that is so well put and so well said. And I hope all our listeners listening to you right now reach out to you on your Facebook and on your TikTok, all the details that you have mentioned with us. I will make sure to include all these details into the show notes so that many people can reach out to you. So, listeners, authenticity and healing emerge when we stop abandoning ourselves and begin integrating every part with compassion and care. Thank you so much for joining us on Inner Peace, Better Health. It has been an amazing conversation with you. And listeners, may today's conversation remind you that healing doesn't require perfection, only presence, patience, and willingness to come home to yourself. Until next time, take gentle care of your body, your heart, and the child within who's still learning they are safe.